All right, welcome into Friday's Sports Phone KNBR. My name is Bill Lasky, pulling you through for the next 90 minutes as we talk about this team, the San Francisco Giants, on a 17-game stretch. And they just could not muster any kind of offense against Nathan Eovaldi today, and they got shut out for the fourth time this year, 2-0. But if you remember last Friday, the same thing happened. Logan Webb threw a masterful game, and the Giants got shut out against the Anaheim Angels in Los Angeles, and it was the same score, 2-0, and the same type of game. They only had 4 hits in that game. They only had 4 hits in today's game. But it really came down to Nathan Eovaldi. If you remember part of this game, in the beginning of the game, they were hitting bullets all around the field until about the third inning, and all of a sudden, Nathan Eovaldi started throwing a splitter, and it was unhittable. He really threw that ball well. 99 pitches. He used that splitter for a third of the game, throwing 33 splitters, ended up striking out 7. And when he finished the game in the 6th inning, he punched out the side. Willie Adames, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Matt Chapman were all walking back to the dugout after 3 punch-outs. And that was 6 tough innings that he threw against the San Francisco Giants. They only mounted 1 attack, and that was in the 5th inning when Lamont Wade Jr. got a base hit and a wild pitch got him to second base, and that was the only time a Giants runner got to second base in the entire game. It was that good of a pitching matchup. And you got to look on the other side. Justin Verlander threw another good game. If you remember what he did in Los Angeles, he went 6 innings, only giving up 2 hits, 1 earned run in his last start with 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. And he pitched great. I mean, the first inning walked a guy, and that was the only walk of the game of the Giants pitchers did. Eovaldi walked 1 guy, and the pitching on both sides was really dynamic the whole game. When you look at what Justin Verlander did today, 89 pitches, 65 strikes, and he was around the strike zone the entire game today, got out of a nice jam in the 6th inning. He goes up 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. His best pitch, he was throwing a fastball. He was challenged the hitters. He got it up to about 97 miles an hour, average around 94, which is about what Justin Verlander can do right now at 42 years old. The slider was sharp, through that 25 times. You just start looking at what he did in his makeup of the game. A couple changeups, some sweepers, some curveballs, but mostly fastballs and sliders. And he really had a nice downward break on the slider tonight, challenged a lot of the Texas Rangers hitters. But boy, one hitter in this lineup, it is just amazing who Wyatt Langsford is, a 23-year-old kid. And he is a first-round draft pick, and he is a smoking the ball today. 3 for 4, 2 doubles. Right now, he's 6 home runs, 8 RBIs, hitting over 325 on the young season. He's got 21 hits and 59 at-bats. He's their main guy. This batting lineup for the Texas Rangers is struggling. When you're looking at some of the main guys, Corey Seager is out of the lineup. He's on the IL with a hamstring. And then you look at Marcus Semien. Of course, we remembered him with the Oakland A's. He's only hitting $148. Then you look at Jock Peterson, who was in such a doldrum. He finally got a double in Sacramento, and he was coming into the ballpark today 4 for 61, 066. The infield was in, and he ended up squeezing a base hit by Fitzgerald, but it was a good game. It was a good type game. There was just no offense for the San Francisco Giants after winning 3 out of 4 games against Milwaukee. 15 games in on this 17-game stretch, they're 8-7. When you start dissecting what they've done, 17-10 right now. They're 7-4 at home. On the road, 10-6. Really good numbers there. When you look at what they've done in interleague play, they played 13 games out of 27 so far, and they're 9-4, which is pretty good. They played some good teams in the American League, and we're just going through the next 2 games before they finally get a break on Monday. A really tough pitcher tomorrow when we talk about the probables. Tyler Mahle has just been throwing really well. .68 earned run average. He's only given up 2 earned runs in 27 innings, and he's only given up 10 hits. And Eovaldi really worked the splitter well tonight. And Tyler Mahle, you remember him with the Cincinnati Reds, will go against Robbie Ray. That's a 105 start. And Robbie's got to throw strikes, no question here. He has been battling, trying to throw strikes, getting ahead of hitters. He went 5 innings, giving up 2 earned runs in his last start in Milwaukee, walking 3 and striking out 4. We'll talk about this game more. We got to take a quick break. 415-808-KNBR. Let's get the phone lines ringing. Steve Kroner is going to join me later in the show tonight. He was at the ball game. We're going to get some eyes on what he saw with Evaldi, Chris Martin, another tough pitcher they had to face, a right-hander, Robert Garcia, the left-hander, and then Luke Jackson, of all pitchers, that is their closer, and he got his 8th save. So some good pitching at Oracle Park. And on the other side, we have to look at Verlander, who I thought's been throwing the ball well his last 2 starts. Randy Rodriguez has just been exceptional this year, getting in his 11th game. He's gone 11 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 16 punch-outs and 0 walks. So Randy Rodriguez under the radar, but he has been lights out for the San Francisco Giants out of that bullpen. And it was good to see Ryan Walker get out there. He struggled his last couple outings, and he had a nice 1-2-3 inning and punched out 2, and the last one was a wicked slider. I just think he's just been overthrown, a little amped up coming in a couple of those late games, but it's good just to see him get out there and put a 0 on the board. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Sports Phone KNBR on a Friday night, 808 KNBR. Let's get the phone lines ringing. If you were at the game, let's talk about what you saw. And there wasn't much offense on the Giants, but there was still a good ball game at Oracle. All right, we'll be right back, coming back with more right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Giants fans.
This is your hub to have your voice heard.
Sports Phone KNBR.
Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
2-2 pitch. Peterson hits a high pop-up. Wade into foul ground. Fitzgerald coming over, and it'll be Fitzgerald who leaps, catches, and then launches himself into the net, bounces back up. What a play by Tyler Fitzgerald. He took charge on that one and made a jumping catch, knowing that the net was there to support him. That was a heck of a play.
All right, back on Sports Phone KNBR on a Friday night with Bill Lasky, and what a great play that Tyler Fitzgerald did. Great call by Dave Fleming explaining it. Of course, if you didn't get to watch the game today, it was on Apple TV, and we got to listen to John Kruk and Dave Fleming. Those three did a great job on radio, and I love when they explain a call like that. Good call right there by Dave. But I want to go back to a play that happened in the ninth inning today when Jung-Hoo Lee was up. And Robert Garcia threw a ball inside. It looked like it hit him in the wrist. The bat kind of hit the ball foul. It looked like it was a foul ball. It was a 2-strike count. Umpire at home plate put his right arm up, but nobody really saw the play. Third base called him a swing. And when you looked at this play over and over again, it was definitely a foul ball. It went off his bat. It went off his wrist, on his bat, off it. Should have been a foul ball. But the question I want to throw to you Giants fans is, with all of this replay, with all the cameras out there, some of these things have to be reviewed. And I thought that play was a perfect example of a foul ball. He should have had another at-bat, another pitch. He should have gotten the at-bat, I should have said, over. But they called him out. Jung-Hoo Lee brought Justin out as interpreter to talk to him. Bob Melvin was out there barking, of course, and then they went back in the dugout and they watched it on replay, and he came back out. It was way too late. Matt Chapman was coming up already. But some of these calls that should be reviewed are not being reviewed. And I'd love to hear what you have to say tonight, because to me, in these crucial times of a game in the ninth inning, that's a crucial at-bat. That's a crucial pitch. And just to blow it off like strike three, nothing matters. I just think some of these things have to be reviewed. And it's not just that. It's other things during a game that they just says non-reviewable. So love to hear what your take is. 808 KNBR. Let's hear what your thoughts are. Let's go out to Pete. He's on the peninsula. Pete, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. How's it going?
Hey, man, great to hear you tonight. Hey, the Giants, they can't win them all, man. They were on a hot streak. I love it when they can come back like they do, and I think Texas coming in here with that staff is a good measuring stick on how well the Giants are doing. This game, I chalk it up.
Pete. Listen, let me throw something to you, Pete. You're absolutely right. Texas is coming in with an earned run average under 3.3 earned run average, a team earned run average, better than the Giants. Giants are just under a 3.6. And Evaldi, if you remember what he did in the playoffs when they won the World Series, he was 5-0 with like a 2.2. He is a tough pitcher, and once he got that splitter going today, they just couldn't catch up to it. They were swinging over it every time.
Yep, it's a good challenge for him. Like I said, it's a good measuring stick early in the year and how good a team he got. As far as Jung-Hoo Lee, the umpires, I don't know if it was in Anaheim that the umpire gave him a problem and the Giants were barking, or it was in Philadelphia. Anytime there's a question, that was ridiculous. What that umpire did to him was unprofessional. And today too, I think baseball needs to do what they do in football. The last ninth inning, every questionable call needs to be reviewed. Period.
I like that idea. It's a good call.
You got to make the umpires do that.
Yeah, I think that's a great call in a problem of any type in a ninth inning. It's a ninth inning. It's a 2-0 game. The leadoff hitter, and it's a questionable call. There's no question there. And third base umpire just put his hand up. Yeah, you saw him swing. I really thought he got hit in the wrist first. That's the first thing I thought. And then when you watch the replay, it went off his fist, off the bat. So it was a foul ball, but they didn't call it that way.
Mike and John Miller and Dave were saying they were really clear on it. I was listening to the radio, so I didn't see it on the TV. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to this season. They're playing Buster Ball. I love it. And I love your show, Bill. Listen, take care and have a good one, brother.
Yeah, thanks again, Pete. Appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. John Kruk and Dave were talking about it. I was watching it on Apple TV, listening to them. And on replay and Apple TV, you could see the ball coming off his bat. It did foul off. You could see where the ball was going to the left of him as a left-hand hitter off to the right-handed batter's box. But it was just a questionable call altogether. And I like what Pete said. Maybe the ninth inning, you replay everything. I love what they do in football. Last 2 minutes, they do it. So there has to be something that has to be negotiated here to get replay better. And you know what? Why not replay everything? You can. You got enough cameras. You got a replay booth back in New York that's got people watching it. These things have to be cleaned up, just like what he just talked about with Jung-Hoo Lee, and that was in Philadelphia. He was tapping the top of his helmet, and Jung-Hoo Lee does it all the time. And if you remember in spring training, you tap the top of your helmet to get a replay on the pitch. Phil Cuzzy was thinking he was showing him up. After the game, he's looking for him, screaming at him as he's going down the tunnel. Jung-Hoo Lee says, I don't understand English. And he was just screaming at him, saying, you're showing me up, showing me up. Very, very sensitive in that part. And I just think, Kuzi, you never heard any apology or anything to it. But Pete was absolutely right. A couple things happened there. And today, I think Jung-Hoo Lee wanted to say something, and that's why he brought Justin out. But it was just a melee right in the ninth inning when the Giants could have got that leadoff runner on. You never know what happens when you get a runner on. I know Luke Jackson blew a save in Sacramento. He's scuffling a little bit, so it just didn't happen tonight. But those are little things that make that game magnify, and that play right there definitely did. All right, let's go out to Visalia, talk to Glenn. Glenn, you're on a Friday night sports phone KNBR. What's going on?
Bill, thank you for doing a good job, Bill.
I appreciate your call, Glenn. What's going on, man? They got shut out again tonight. That's their fourth shutout of the year.
Every 8 game, Bill, average, every 8 game, a shutout. Bill, why can't the players, shorten the swing? They see the ball. They're in the batter box. Stop trying to be a hero. Stop trying to be a hero.
Glenn, hold on here, Glenn. You know, you got to talk about Nathan Eovaldi, which is one of the best pitchers in the American League and one of the best for the Rangers. He pitched a good game. You can't just dive into what the hitters didn't do. They tried. They were swinging over the pitch. He had a nasty splitter going. Don't forget, they just won 3 out of 4 games against Milwaukee. So today they came in a later game. It was a good battle. It was a good game. They were in this game the whole time. They just couldn't get any offense going today. It was one of those nights.
This is the 4th game. After every 8 games, they're going to get shut out. Bill,
Why do you say after every game? They've got shut out 4 times. They got shut out against the Reds in their first homestand when they went 4-2. They end up going last Friday against the Angels. They got shut out after they went and played Philadelphia. They split with Philly. They beat the Yankees. This team's playing pretty well. And, Glenn, you just can't just keep being negative on one game because these hitters there's some hitters struggling. There's some hitters that are doing well. But this team is 17-10. So we'll look tomorrow. We'll turn the page, and we'll see what they can do tomorrow, Glenn. Let's go to Connor in Mission District. Connor, thanks for the call tonight. You're on with Bill Lasky. What's going on?
Bill, I'm having a real big San Francisco local day. Me and my wife moved out to the East Bay, but I'm back just to watch that game. You stop by Black Hammer on Bryant and then stop into Oracle Park, watch the game. I got to say, you're absolutely right. The commissioner should have called and said, should have called personally and said, hey, it's the 9th inning. Don't take the bat out of Jung-Hoo Lee's hands. But if you were in that stadium, what you might have missed on the broadcast, if you actually caught it on Apple or if you were listening to KNBR for the local radio broadcast, which I was when I was watching the game live, even with the delay, fantastic broadcast. What you might have missed is the fans in that stadium. 2 callers ago, you had a guy talking about Buster Ball. Everyone was excited, man. When you had Willie Adames with that purple glove, turn it to with Tyler Fitzgerald, who Buster is given some time to, but more importantly, when Patrick Pop Bailey, when he nailed that guy at second and
double play,
and that was doubted him
very much
to end the inning, and they did the replay, and it's like, how are you gonna doubt my man Pop Bailey? That's my question. At some point, the Blue has to give that guy his due because he's doing everything out here. Just punch the guy out. Just punch the guy out, and then at the other side, I get it. You know, this is our old our old skipper. If he issues the challenge, then maybe review it. But like that Pop Bailey moment,
it was just a tough play in that ninth inning. You know, Connor lead off that inning. The lefty stays in to face him. Robert Garcia throwing a nasty slider, and he tried to ride that fastball in on the 2-2 count. At first, I thought it hit him in the wrist. That's what I really thought. And I think on the radio, I was listening to them. I think they thought that too, John, Dave, and Kruk. And then when you saw it on replay, I was watching Apple TV. I wasn't listening to it. I always listen to KNBR. The announcers are so much better than anything I listen to. And, you know, you heard them saying the same thing. And I think Kruk said, man, I hope he didn't hurt his wrist because it really hit him hard. And once you saw the replay and how slow it went, it hit his wrist and then hit the bat. That's why I thought for sure they were just going to call it a foul ball. I was really surprised they called it strike three. I really was.
Everyone in the park, it was anticlimactic. And look, this is the only point. You're absolutely right. It's on a Friday. They got the oranges. You know, that's a really anticlimactic moment to take away from the fans. But the people in that stadium are actually judging this on a month-by-month, if not season-by-season basis. And people, Giants fans right now, I got to say, just being there, like everyone is so optimistic. The energy in that park was like, man, like, you know what it felt like? A little bit right after John Lynch made the right move in picking Nick Bosa. Like it really felt like, oh man, we're making good decisions. We got a guy with a purple bone turning to a shortstop.
Well, let me ask you, Connor. Watching this game, the pitching by Evaldi as well as Verlander, it got the crowd into it. It was some good pitching on both sides.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Look, the pitching was so fun. You know, I feel like KNBR has been telling everyone, hey, look, with Verlander, he doesn't deserve the record he has. And any fan worth their salt understands that the stats are the stats, the score is the score.
Well, win-loss record.
Whether it's Adames or whatever.
Yeah, it's just tough taking win-loss assessments. You know, you look at Logan Webb. He wins a game against the Yankees, only going 5 innings. He does great, only gives up 1 earned run against the Angels, shuts another team out going 7 innings, punches out 10 against the Reds. It doesn't in favor wins and losses. It's about opportunities. And the last 2 outings Verlander has thrown, he's getting his rhythm back, and I think that's what I love about watching him. The fastball now is cutting a couple more clicks up, 95, 96. The breaking ball today, the slider was sharp. He used other pitches, secondary pitches here and there, but he was in the zone, and that's what I want to see him pitch more and only walk 1 guy. And when you look at his last outing, it was very similar.
And I'll close with this. And, Bill, I got to say, listening to your show is fantastic. I hope that KNBR finds a way to put the full show on Spotify, but if not, that's fine. I'll dial in. But I would love to be able to hear the full post game, like the Locked On Giants folks, the full postcast, because you guys are great. You're great. But I'll end with this, and I started with this. What we have that we didn't have during the last few years of the prior era, folks have the benefit of the doubt back. So whether it's Verlander, whether it's Adames with his batting average, everyone gets the benefit of the doubt because not only is our record showing, but you can tell the guys are having fun. Like, it's so fun to be a Giants fan right now.
I really agree, Connor, and you can see it from Adames laughing, joking. He caught you. I don't know if you got to see it. There was a pop-up on the infield. Chapman catches it, and he's behind him pretending he's catching it. This is fun. They're laughing at time. And you know what? When you get a relaxed atmosphere, you do play comfortable. You're not stressed out. What I love what they did yesterday to Duvall, when Duvall's walked like 6 straight pitches, the infield came in. Adames, Chapman, hey, chill out, dude. Tranquilo, man. Let's get this thing going. And sure enough, he did.
I love the fact that Ryan Walker came back in, and it's like, hey, everyone's talking about this like it's some kind of quarterback controversy between 2 closers. You know what? Everyone relax. Ryan Walker's going to come in, and during what would be an upsetting loss, what he's actually going to do is put all that to rest. We have our closer.
Good call
Everything
right there, Connor.
is as it should be.
That's exactly what Bob Melvin did. J.P. Martinez, get him an inning, 2-0 lead. Just get him out there with no stress, no runners on base, and just get a clean inning, and he did. And he pitched 14 pitches, 9 for strikes, and a devastating slider to punch out Josh Jung to end it. That was Ryan Rocker. And that's, I think, Giants fans, hey, you got to go through hurdles in a season. It's not all red carpet or gravy. There's going to be times where baseball challenges you mentally and physically, and that's what Ryan Walker just got through. A couple bad outings. Give him some breathing room, get him back on the mound, get him back mentally focused, and that's what happened today.
This franchise, even when I just, paid money to go watch a loss, it's just full top to bottom with even-handed, cool cats who are talented, who tell me to pump the brakes when it comes to Eldridge. I believe it. When it comes to, hey, don't worry about this closer thing, I believe it because the Giants continue to have the benefit of the doubt.
Good call, Connor, and I tell you what, appreciate your time tonight, and thanks for going on game and calling in tonight. Good timing. But Connor's right. I mean, he's listening to some of the things, and Bob Melvin's stating, players are saying in post-game shows. We're saying it here on KNBR. This team has a different edge this year. They're 17-10. And if they would have won today, Padres lost, Dodgers lost, Diamondbacks lost. If they would have won today, they would have been in first place, but they're only a half a game out. All right, we're going to take a quick break on Sports Phone KNBR, 808 KNBR if you want to give us a call. There's more callers on hold. I'll get back to you after we take a break. My name's Bill Lasky, and we'll be back with more right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
Giants fans.
This is your hub to have your voice heard.
Sports Phone KNBR.
Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Back to Sports Phone KNBR on a Friday night. Listen to a little Pink Pony for you out there, if you know who that is. Good tune right there. Jacob dialing it in for me. Tomorrow, Brandon Crawford Day. What a great thing the Giants are doing. Of course, Buster Posey behind the move to honor Brandon Crawford. 14-year career. I say he's probably the best shortstop in a Giants uniform. It's going to be a great celebration. KNBR is going to have that ceremony for you right here, so you can put on your radio and listen to the pregame show. And after the game, I'm going to have my extra inning post-game show, and I caught up with two guys that really knew Brandon Crawford real well, and that was the third base coach, Tim Flannery. He'll be on tomorrow after the game, and Royce Clayton, who Brandon Crawford always said he was my guy. That was the guy I watched. So a couple good interviews coming up with Tim Flannery and Royce Clayton after the game on the extra inning post-game show. And, of course, NBA basketball right after that. So I'll take you right to the tip-off of the third game with the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. Tonight, Giants lose 2-0. They fall 17-10, their fourth shutout of the year. Texas Rangers came in after losing 2 to the Athletics. They win a game tonight, and Nathan Eovaldi was all that. But the bullpen also put zeros on the board, and the Giants ended up losing their first game after they took 3 out of 4 from Milwaukee. 808 KNBR if you want to get on the phone line. Steve Kroner was at the game. We're going to talk to him in a few minutes, talk a little about some Giants baseball and other things. Steve and I love to talk baseball. All right, let's go to Scott in Palo Alto. Scott, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. How are you doing this evening?
Bill, how you doing, bud?
Well, disappointing loss after they took 3 out of 4 from Milwaukee, but, you got into a buzzsaw. Nathan Eovaldi was nasty after the first couple innings. The Giants were hitting the ball real hard off of him, but all of a sudden a split finger came out, and, of course, that was a devastating pitch as he punched out 7 after the second inning, and a lot of that was 0-2, 1-2 splitters, and it hurt the Giants tonight.
Good pitching is always going to win. You know that.
Yeah, good pitching, good defense, and once in a while get a hit, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I did a lot of some umpiring for you last summer out at Twin Creeks with the boys out there. I don't know if you remember me at all, but
I must have been barking at you, Scott.
No, you just my partner once in a while. But
well, he had to be a home plate umpire then, because I like barking at my umpires,
Yeah. But no, I was kind of calling about the check swing, hit by pitch, or whatever.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I think replay should be used for that.
Got to get the call right at all times, I think. So, but that's a tough one, for an umpire. But again, why not have the replay if you have it?
Well, Scott, if you're umpiring third base, you do see him pull that bat around, but after replay, the ball kind of went off his hand off the bat. Would you consider that a foul ball?
I always look for the expression of the hitter right away. I try and see if he sells me on it or whatever. But if it's a check swing and it's a swing and it hits the bat, I didn't get to see that the play, but just watching it or hearing you talk about it, that's still a tough one, regardless. Either way,
it is, because it glanced off his hand, and anything off his hand. First thing I thought it would hit his wrist, and I thought it was hit by pitch, and then I'm thinking as the ball hit his wrist, it hit the bat, and maybe that's called a foul ball, maybe it isn't. Third base umpire put his hand up immediately for a swing. Home plate umpire really didn't know what was going on. He just put his hand up. I think the expression from Jung-Ho Lee, like you're talking about, and how the third base umpire just raised his hand up, that was the question mark I had, because I didn't know from all the replay I saw if it was a foul ball or not. And after the replay, it did hit him in the wrist or hit him in the hand first, and then the ball kind of jetted off the bat. A tough play. How long would that have taken for a replay? That's all I would have said.
I think they have it down pretty pat where, might as well just check and make sure it's right and keep the game moving. But
yeah, I like what my first caller, Pete, said. Maybe the ninth inning, you review everything, just like they do in football under 2 minutes. I like that.
Yeah,
idea.
I like it.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get going or whatever, I wanted just to thank you. You signed a jersey for my dad out at Twin Creeks last summer. He had a bunch of different other the old Giants on his jersey, and you got to meet him last year as well. I just wanted to thank you because Dad, he's no longer with us. He left us on Monday.
Wow, so sorry about that, Scott. And now that you told me about your dad, I do remember you really good. And your dad, I remember going over and talked to him for about 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
I'm so sorry for your loss. He was a good Giant fan, and we had he was dropping some names on me, and we had a good couple laughs, and I was really glad. And I got to see him another day in that tournament too, if I'm not mistaken.
You sure did. Yeah.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Scott, but a good Giants fan, and I hope you have that jersey he had because he had some great names on there.
I'm going to have to fight my brother and sister for it, but I'll try and get it.
And I can tell you, Scott, you're a damn good umpire because I do know now. I remember you now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I just wanted to share that and say thank you to you and keep up the good work and hopefully to see you out there this summer.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for the call. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss, man. Your dad was a good dude, no doubt about it. All right, I appreciate your call, Scott. Let's go to Andrea in Berkeley. Andrea, you're on a late night, Friday night sports phone KNBR. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Bill. How are you?
Oh, tough night. Good pitching, though. You know, it was good pitching on both sides. I thought Justin Verlander threw well. I'm very impressed with what Randy Rodriguez has been doing coming out of the bullpen. He just doesn't get all that claim, and he's pitching so well. 11 games. He's only given up, 8 hits, no earned runs. And you look at no walks, 16 strikeouts, and he's kind of like that unsung hero down there.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to look him up as we speak. That's something right there. He was, from the Dominican. Let me go ahead and see.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do an interview with him through Irwin. He does not speak English. Irwin and I talked about bringing Randy on. I would like to find out a little bit more about him, where he grew up, and some of his lifestyles. I did that last weekend with Jung-Hoo Lee with Justin.
That was great.
And it's a little different. It's a change when you're talking through a translator. But, like I did, and I think, Andrea, you heard me say it, the quick questions, you get the answers quicker and you can move the interview on faster.
Yes, a true fire sign, yes. And Randy Rodriguez, what do you know, a fellow Virgo, September 5th, 1999.
There you go.
So please, by all means, bring him on the show.
When you get into these games like this, and they just got back through 3 out of 4 good games against Milwaukee, coming from behind, and they've just been playing good baseball. They won 8 games, 2 runs or more behind. And, of course, yesterday's game, they came back late in the game and took that game away from Milwaukee on some of the errors the Brewers made. But that was exciting baseball, all those games. And even though they gave up 11 runs on Tuesday, they fought back in that series. And Milwaukee's a pretty good club.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really, by the same token, Justin Verlander, February 20th, 1983, he had back-to-back quality starts. With this Neptune and Saturn transit to his Mars, remember Mars being a crucial planet for an athlete with energy, assertion, aggression. So the disappointment and the disillusionment, even though he deserved a better fate. So I have a mantra here, delay doesn't mean denial.
Yep, both games. I thought he pitched really well, and
he did.
The other game, he came out of the game, and they just didn't hold a lead. Today, they just couldn't get any runs. But I thought his 6th inning was really key. Gave up an infield hit. First, they called Adames with an error. Then they made an infield hit. Then a double by Langsford, but they held the runners at second and third. Great replay. But he gets out of the inning with a double play ball by Simeon, of all people, and he walks off that mound. He's got to be impressed and be, I did a great job. You have to say that to yourself. Even though you lose the game, you look at what Logan Webb's done. As a starting pitcher, sometimes you just say, you know what, I did my best. We just didn't score runs. Down the road, that will equal out.
Yes, that's very it's perfect what you just shared. I hope you can share that with Verlander, because that is just exactly.
Well, I'm sure he's had a lot of games like that. Hopefully, he's trying to win that first game with the Giants, and these last two outings, both appearances, he deserved to win.
Right. Again, delay doesn't mean denial. And the Giants got another pitching coach in the deal. So remember, I always like to say that. And on a happier note, it was really great to see Bochy.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? The same old Bruce Bochy, the same walk, the waggle he had.
Yeah.
And, it was funny what Dave Fleming said on radio. He said, that's the Bruce Bochy walk, no question about it.
I know. I love KNBR. It was great to listen to it on radio.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, Brandon Crawford Day. I think the Giants did a good thing. I'm so glad Buster Posey brought him back. Of course, Brandon and Far Anxiety just kind of head to head, and that didn't turn out great. And Giants fans love Brandon Crawford. His family will be there tomorrow, a lot of his teammates. And I don't know if you heard me, I have Tim Flannery and Royce Clayton on after extra innings to talk more about Brandon Crawford. And it's a day that ballpark's going to be sold out, and it's a day that Brandon Crawford needs to listen to his fans, his playing teammates, Bruce Bochy, and really digest what he did to the Giants organization.
Yes, he was a humanitarian Aquarian. That's what I always like to say about his chart. And that's an awesome T-shirt. The Giants do a great job on the, promotions and honoring the players. And that is like a great T-shirt. If anyone has an extra, please do let me know. That is very psychedelic and cool.
Well, Andrea, we'll find out what they can do tomorrow. Robbie Ray on the hill against Tyler Mahle. It'll be a 105 start, and definitely tune in tomorrow. And Tim Flannery and Royce Clayton will fill you with some great Brandon Crawford stories. But have a great rest of Friday night, Andrea. Thanks for the call.
Yes, you too. Look forward to the Flan Man. Have a good night.
Sir. All right, thanks again. And it'll be a fun day tomorrow. Fans will be out there. Of course, the Giants are going to celebrate Brandon Crawford's great career. Of course, he played 14 years. 13 of them in a Giants uniform. So many great memories that all of us can remember about Brandon Crawford. And it's a day we'll celebrate a great career with Brandon Crawford. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back with Steve Kroner as he was out the game. We'll talk more about this game and talk baseball with Steve. That's coming up next right here on Sports Phone KNBR on The Leader.
Sports fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard.
Sports Phone KNBR.
Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Giants infield swung around toward the third base line. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a high fastball.
Climbed the ladder on him right across the letters. Strikeout number 5 for Verlander, and they're all swing and miss strike threes tonight. I beg your pardon.
Giants
4 out
lose
of 5.
today 2-0. I'm talking over the video or audio here a little bit. It was a tough game, no question about it. The offense just couldn't get anything going. They only had a runner on second base in scoring position in the 5th inning. That was it, and that was on Lamont Wade Jr. getting a base hit and a wild pitch. That was the only thing they could do. They got a base hit in the 1st, base hit in the 3rd, a walk in the 2nd. You could just count the 4 base hits with 1 walk. Not much to do on the scoring side for the San Francisco Giants, and you could go a little worse than that. 1 walk, 13 strikeouts. That's right, 13 strikeouts. Not much on the offense. Giants lose 2-0. Justin Verlander threw a hell of a game. He goes 0-2. Randy Rodriguez follows him up. Ryan Walker followed him up with 3 nice shutout innings. All right, we're going to talk to my buddy Steve Kroner. He was at the game tonight, see what he had to say about it. Of course, Steve wrote for the Chronicle for over 25 years. He's still writing part-time for him. Does some things with St. Mary's. Let's bring in my buddy, late night Steve Kroner. How are you tonight?
Bill, it's always a pleasure, and it's only 11:26. I think this is almost early night, Bill and Steve.
Well, they call late night Wade Lamont, and I'm calling you late night Steve Kroner. We've done this on many Friday nights, but tonight you got to go out to the game. Pretty brisk out there. It looked like it was cold from watching the fans. Of course, I had to watch it on Apple TV and listen to it on KNBR. Not much offense by the Giants.
No, indeed. I'll say this. We're sitting in the lower deck. It wasn't quite as cold as I thought it might be. It wasn't candlestickian, put it that way, thankfully. But it was fairly cold, as were the Giants' bats.
Yeah, you know, Steve, in the beginning of the game, they crushed the ball. I mean, they hit Willie Adames hit one out to right center field in the 1st inning, and they were saying on radio the wind was holding a lot of balls back right out in right center, and there was some balls hit very well. And then all of a sudden, the 3rd inning, Nathan Eovaldi started throwing a splitter, and next thing you know, he punched out 7 guys in the next 4 innings, and he was unhittable.
Yeah, and you know, Bill, the top 4 teams in the NL West were all at home tonight, and the top 4 teams in the NL West combined for 2 runs and no wins. The Diamondbacks scored 2 and lost 8-2 to Atlanta. Rays beat the Padres 1-0 in San Diego. The Pirates beat the Dodgers 3-0 in L.A., and Texas beat the Giants 2-0 in San Francisco. Not a lot of offense anywhere at the top of the NL West tonight.
Especially after the Giants just came back yesterday and pulled that game out against Milwaukee, even though there was a couple errors in it, misplayed balls. I thought they played really well in that series. You know, you're on a 17-game stretch here, Steve, and when you look at what they're doing, 8-7, they're still playing winning baseball, won a series, 3 out of 4, which is tough to do. The Rangers are coming in here with some good starting pitching. Tomorrow's going to be a tough one with Tyler Mahle, and he pitched for the Reds. 30-year-old right-hander, 3-0 with a .68 earned run average, and they got their work cut out tomorrow.
Yeah, they had their work cut out tonight, certainly, and they will tomorrow. And, you know, you mentioned the 17-10, Bill, and if you project that, if they're on pace to win 102 games. So 17-10 is nothing at which you want to sneeze. And let me throw a couple of numbers at you here. 204, 217, 222, 104, and 159. Those are the batting averages as of now for Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, Ramos, Lamont Wade Jr., and Patrick Bailey. And the Giants are 17-10, even with all those guys struggling. And I'll say this about Adames. I covered the game yesterday for AP. He hit a ball yesterday to right center field that I think in other parks, and even on a warmer day at Oracle, either would have been off the wall or over it. So maybe Adames is getting out of his funk. But if you have 4 or 5 guys in the lineup who really aren't hitting much, and yet you're 17-10, you got to spin that positively, I think.
That voice you hear on Sports Phone KNBR, Steve Kroner. Of course, he was at the game tonight, and you're absolutely right when you're looking at offensive numbers. And then you got to look at the Rangers, and the Rangers are just like that. When you're looking at Marcus Semien hitting 148, Jock Peterson hitting 066, and then you also have Garcia hitting 218. Both these offenses were struggling, but their pitching has been dynamic. And I thought Verlander and Eovaldi pitched great today for both of them, pitching 6 innings. And I've been bragging about Verlander his last 2 outings. Really, the velocity's gotten up there to 96, 97. I think he hit 97 today, 96.5. For a 42-year-old, he's starting to get a little bit better. The rhythm's starting to come in. Threw a nice slider today, a changeup, a sweeper, a curveball. These are all pitches that he's starting to get the feel for, Steve, and that's good signs for him.
Yeah, I mean, he can't pitch much better than he has the past 2 outings. You know, he's probably not going to be able to put back-to-back outings as good as this throughout the season, but he certainly pitched much better these last 2 outings than he did his first couple. And again, I think you can spin that positively if you're a Giants fan.
When you look at this team, the Rangers, I was talking about this 23-year-old first-round pick, Wyatt Langsford. You watched him hit today, went 3 for 4, pounded the ball for 2 doubles. What did you see out of him? Because he's playing left field for him. A big kid, and he's batting second for him.
Yeah, and he was a very high pick in the draft, was called up very early. And I'll tell you another thing, Bill. He made a hell of a play on that ball that Lamont Wade grounded down the left field line. A lot of other left fielders, that's a double. But Langford got over there, got to it really quickly, got rid of it really quickly, kept Lamont Wade at first base. That was in a 2-0 game. That's a big play.
It sure was. And you start looking at Corey Seager, who's out with a hamstring injury, and they've been throwing this Josh Smith out there, and he's a 27-year-old. He's hitting 333. He hadn't had a lot of bats, but he played a good shortstop too. They had some good defense on both sides of the game today. And the other thing I was bragging about, they only had 1 walk per team in this game, which means both the pitchers on both sides were throwing strikes to get ahead. Randy Rodriguez has just been impressive. Today, he went 3-0 on a hitter, comes back and punches him out. He hasn't walked a hitter in 11 games and punched out 16. He's that hidden gem in that Giants bullpen.
Absolutely, Bill. Three numbers that are pretty good for him: 0, 0, and 0. That's his ERA.
And 0 walks.
But yeah,
throw that one in there.
That will get you. That'll get you a lot of zeros at the end of your contract, I think. But,
that's the truth.
Yeah, obviously, one of the biggest reasons the Giants are 17-10 is, except for last Sunday in Anaheim when Ryan Walker did have kind of a meltdown, the Giants bullpen has been pretty much locked down. That's one of the big reasons why, even though their offense has been kind of hit and miss, and they're starting pitching outside of Logan Webb, who's been really good. The starting pitching's been kind of hit and miss, but the bullpen has not been hit. The bullpen has been missing a lot of bats, is what it's done. So the bullpen has really been good for the Giants for 27 games.
Steve, when you watch Camilo Duvall, I've always said the first hitter tells me everything about him. Yesterday when he came in and walked the first hitter, and he goes 2-0 on the next hitter, and all of a sudden the infield comes up and starts talking to him. Bob Melvin talked about it on the pregame show with John Miller today. He really felt that his teammates came together. Patrick Bailey came out just to kind of give him a push. That was a big inning for him because his last outing he got to save. Yesterday was a big time. Calm down, tranquilo, take it easy. You got good stuff. Just go after these hitters. And all of a sudden, he turned it on. And I love that when teammates can do that, where you don't have to have the pitching coach come out to do that and get some input from your teammates. And Willie Adames was the one that said, all I said is just relax. Let us do the work. Just throw strikes. The next thing you know, boom, 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 3 outs. The game was over.
Yeah, we did speak with Adames after the game yesterday. Again, I was working for the Associated Press yesterday, and he was right. I mean, you've seen Duvall have those moments when he just can't find the plate, and he seems to slow down the pace even more slow than he does even with the pitch clock. But given and Matt Chapman was out there and Adames and I believe, as you said, Patrick Bailey, and whatever they said to him worked because he did give up a hit, but you're going to give up a hit to a major league hitter now and then, which you can't do in the ninth inning, is walk guys, and he did walk the leadoff man, but he was able to extricate himself from that issue. And we talked to Bob Melvin before yesterday's game about Ryan Walker had a tough outing on Sunday and had a tough outing on Wednesday night that Doval came in and cleaned up the mess. Who's your closer? And Bob said, they're both closers. Well, nothing's changed. There are going to be nights when Doval's down and Walker's got to take the load, and there are going to be nights when Walker's down and Doval's got to take the load. And I think that's right. And I think it was a very big ninth inning for Ryan Walker tonight, even though he was pitching in a game the Giants were behind by 2 runs. I think that ninth inning was a real big boost for his confidence.
Oh, I totally agree there. And once you have a couple bad outings, and I said this earlier, you're going to go through hurdles. You're going to go through ups and downs. He was 15 for 15 in save opportunities before last Sunday. And that's hard to do, especially consistency. I just felt I was on Extra Innings postgame show, and I was at the adrenaline he had. He was at real high adrenaline Saturday he got to save. He was just trying to jerk the slider real hard. The sinker he was trying to throw too hard. And tonight I felt it was back to Ryan Walker, a little calmer, get in the zone with a couple nice fastballs that get ahead of hitters. I thought today was more of the Ryan Walker we knew of.
Oh, absolutely. And look, no excuses, and I don't think Ryan will want to make any excuses for his outing on Sunday. To me, just watching on TV, I did think the last 2 pitches he threw to Mike Trout leading off that inning should have been strike 3, and one was ball 3 and one was ball 4. And, you can always play the what-if game, but if he gets one of those strikes, maybe the rest of the inning goes differently. Now, the rest of the inning was on him. Yeah. But if he does get one of those strikes, maybe he's not overamped, and maybe he's not, yanking that slider. But again, back to tonight. Tonight really was a boost for him, and I bet you it was a boost for Bob Melvin too.
I agree, and to give him back out there, no doubt J.P. Martinez says get him an inning, get him a relaxed inning. The other thing that happened in that Angel game, he had 1-2 on Neto, and he drilled him. And I thought right then and there, you could see the expression on his face, the shoulders coming up. The expression is, man, I'm blowing this thing, overthrowing, and it just didn't work out. And he hangs the slider for the double down the left field line by Adele, and that was really it. But it was frustrating. That would have ended a nice road trip. They still had a great road trip going 5-5, and this homestand they're 3-2. To win 1 or 2 more of these games would have made this 17-game stretch just remarkable. Can you believe this? 17 games in the month of April for a major league team without a day off, and you're traveling from New York to Philly to L.A. to San Francisco. I don't understand the scheduling of this.
I'm getting tired just listening to you, Bill, talking about it, much less going through it. And Bob did mention, there are times during the season when teams inevitably get one of these things, where it's 14 days without a day off, or 18 days without a day off, or 22 out of 23. He did say it's not common for it to happen this early. A lot of times you'll get days off in April, mainly because a lot of times you're concerned about weather, and you get the extra day maybe if you need to play a makeup game. But yes, 17 games in 17 days without a day off. No matter how good the travel is when you're a major league team and you're a major league player, that's still got to wear on you, no question.
Well, you start looking for the month of May. You get Monday off. You go to San Diego. You play 2. You come back home. You play Colorado for 4. Then you go to Chicago, play 3, get a day off. Go to Minnesota for 3. Come back, play the D-backs. You get a Thursday off. It seems like the month of May, once you get past this first week, every Thursday's a day off, which is nice because then you can reset, maybe give a guy an extra day. Of course, Logan Webb's going to hit his start every 5th time. but you have a little room to maneuver a little bit more when you get a day off, and you can change a few things, maybe give some more arms in the bullpen some rest, maybe give a guy during the lineup a day of rest. But this thing that Bob Melvin's trying to maneuver for 17 games, he's done a remarkable job, and really the only injury we've had is Casey Schmidt pulling an oblique. Other than that, this team's been pretty good with injuries.
And you think, too, in terms of, again, hearkening to the bullpen, 17 days with 17 games, the spot in your roster that you're really concerned about at that point is your bullpen. And Bob's done a really good job, of getting the best out of those guys. And now you're 2 days toward the end of it, and then you get a day off Monday, and, probably Randy Rodriguez wouldn't be available tomorrow. But you go into tomorrow, almost everybody else in the bullpen would be available. I think even Ryan Walker, he threw, 1 inning. I think if the Giants needed him tomorrow, he probably could go.
He could probably 14 pitches, 9 for strikes. He should be fine. But Steve Kroner joining me a few more minutes on Sports Phone KNBR. I threw this out in the beginning of the show about the play that started the ninth inning, or bottom of the ninth inning, with Jung-Hoo Lee possibly hitting a foul ball, possibly being hit. And the question I threw out there, why not do something in replay? Why can't we look at different things? And I had a caller earlier saying, why can't we do it like football? The last 2 minutes, everything's replayed. Maybe we look at the ninth inning and everything can be replayed. I like his idea. I really did.
Bill, let me play a little bit contrarian here. The only thing I'd say is, if you can get those expedited replays, great. But look, I love basketball. I'm a big fan of college basketball and the NBA. But it does drive you nuts, particularly in the NBA, where almost every call in the last 2 minutes, whether it's an obvious call or not, whether it's a critical call or not, is replayed, and it just takes forever, and it takes all the flow out of the game.
Good point.
So if you can get, those expedited replays are great. If you can get to that, then I'd be in favor of let's replay everything in the ninth inning. But if it's still the normal kind of replay, I would not be in favor of that. I'd say sometimes you just got to go. I do think there is something though about why certain calls can be reviewed and why certain calls can't be. Like, to me, it makes no sense. I believe the rule is you can ask for a replay on a ball down the line if it's gone past the third base bag or the first base bag, but you cannot ask for a replay if the ball has not gone past the bag. And why that is, I don't know. And so those kind of things, to make more calls reviewable, I'd be in favor of. But just having more reviews in particular, unless you can do the expedited replays, I wouldn't be in favor of that.
Yeah, those are great points right there, and you're absolutely right. An NBA game, the last 2 minutes of a game lasts a half hour. It seems like all the time. And it's a lot of replays. It's a lot of timeouts. It's a lot of, in and out of guys. You're going in for defense. You're going in for offense. It gets to be too long, and you're absolutely right. What did you think of the play? You were there. Was it magnified on the scoreboard? How did they play that?
I was sitting in section 119 with my son Tom and his girlfriend Melanie, and when it happened, just by my naked eyes, I thought he swung. And I could not hear the ball hit the bat. Not that we were that close. Then I just saw one replay on one of the screens they have hanging from the overhang.
Right.
And I could not tell you definitively whether it should have been a hit by pitch, a foul ball, or a strike three, which it was. What I saw was inconclusive. But I will say,
I think that's the word. I think that is the perfect word on that whole play altogether, because I was watching on Apple TV, but I was listening to the KNBR announcers and listening to John, Dave, and Crew call it. It sounded like he got hit, because that's what I first thought. I thought he got hit in the wrist. But after you watched the replay, after I thought about it, it might have hit his wrist and hit the bat and then went foul. But at the same time, the third base umpire immediately calls strike three, and they all gathered together, and I think that's what Bob Melvin kind of got in a discussion with. What are we calling here? and then it just kind of went back and forth, and Jung-Hoo Lee ended up walking back to the dugout. It was a tough play, especially in the bottom of the ninth when you're trying to rally. The troops didn't. The fans were booing, of course. They didn't know what was going on, and Jung-Hoo Lee brought his interpreter out, and I don't even know if they said anything or whatever. It was just a tough call, but I think you're absolutely right with the way you said it. So tomorrow, Brandon Crawford's getting his due, and I think this is something that Giants fans have been waiting to give him his standing ovations and to applaud. 13 years in the orange and black uniform, and you start looking at what his 14-year career is, a .975 percentage for fielding, which is outstanding. When you look at what he's done in 14 years, and I'm throwing you some numbers, 174 errors. When you break that down into a 14-year career, that's 12 errors or less. That is, to me, just magnificent, just as a shortstop. All the plays we've watched, all the dynamic, the one-handed grabs, the up the middle from the hip. And then you start thinking about the double plays at second base. There are so many great things that we have watched out of this man, and tomorrow we get to celebrate a day, and I think you're like I am. It's due, and he's due to have that day.
No question, Bill, and someone who grew up going to games at Candlestick, and you played with some of these guys and certainly have covered them and know who they are. The number 35 is really big in Giants history as shortstops. When I was a kid, Chris Spire was the man, and when my son was a kid, Rich Aurelia was the man, and Brandon Crawford has been the man, and all three of those guys are great shortstops, but I don't think the first two guys would dispute the fact that Brandon Crawford is the greatest shortstop in San Francisco Giants history. He, not that Brandon and I are close personal friends, but I certainly interviewed him more than once in the clubhouse, and he was always professional and kind of had an understated sense of humor, and a guy he grew up a Giants fan. Yeah, I mean, he is, the hashtag Forever Giant. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily apply to guys, but Brandon Crawford certainly is a Forever Giant.
Steve, if you put Mount Rushmore, the top four shortstops that ever played for the Giants, I'll tell you mine, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. Hal Lanier is one that I never got to watch. I didn't really put him in. I put Chris Spire. I put Royce Clayton, which I thought really played well in his 5 years here. I put Rich Aurelia, and, of course, Brandon Crawford. Those are my four that I felt were the best.
Yeah, I think the three are up. I think Spire, Aurelia, and Brandon Crawford, no question. I might be persuaded a little bit. You mentioned Hal Lanier, who was another guy growing up, but as good a player as Hal was, he was not a great offensive player, so I don't think he'd quite make it. The guy who I think I might put just ahead of Royce Clayton would be Jose Uribe. Mm-hmm. Jose Uribe was really good defensively, not a great hitter, but good enough. And, boy, I'll say this, when he and Robbie Thompson were a double play combination, that was about as good a double play combo as the San Francisco Giants have had, at least in my memory. So I think I might put Jose Uribe just ahead of Clayton, but to me the other three are locks.
Yeah, there's some good shortstops, and, of course, tomorrow we're going to celebrate the best because I really believe Brandon Crawford just did that. 2 World Series championships, all-star game, and just the way he played on and off the field. And, you start thinking about some of the second basemen he had. You had, Joe Panik, of course, was the Batman and Robin up the middle. Of course, the play in 2014 in Kansas City will always go down as one of the best. But, he's had a lot of second basemen. I was looking this up. There was a lot of second basemen he had. And you know as well as I do, it is difficult to get that rhythm with new second basemen every year.
Yeah, Bill, you're absolutely right about this. A lot of times I think when people talk about team chemistry in baseball, to be honest with you, sometimes I think that's overrated. I said, look, the first baseman doesn't have to be friends with the left fielder. He doesn't even necessarily have to know him, right? Mm-hmm. But as long as you played together, but the players who really do have to have a relationship, the pitcher and the catcher obviously have to have a relationship. The center fielder with his corner outfielders has to have a relationship, and the second baseman and the shortstop have to have a relationship. And to have as many other second basemen as Brandon had in his tenure with the Giants, and for him to be as good defensively as he was, you know what? I think a lot of those second basemen will say, thank you, Brandon. You made me a better second baseman as well.
Absolutely right. Steve, thanks again. I appreciate your late night conversation. It's always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. That was Steve Kroner on the Sports Phone KNBR. We'll be back in a minute on KNBR, the sports leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, back on Sports Phone KNBR as we close out a Friday. Giants lose 2-0. Want to thank my guest, Steve Kroner. Thank my producer, Jacob Vellante. Thank you, Giants fans. We're going to do it again tomorrow on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. For Bill Lasky, be safe, be well. Have a great night. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.